Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. So today we're building a very huge waterfront house in Sulani on one of the 50 by 50 lots that came with this world, and it's one of these like beachfront lots that I've been really interested in building in, and especially since we're coming pretty much to the closure of summer now, I wanted to create one last summery sort of build before like the actual season ends. And I was inspired by quite a lot of images that I've seen on my Pinterest as I keep going on there for like inspiration and stuff, and one just like caught my eye a lot and it just looked really interesting, and it was mainly like an AI image of this like very futuristic curved house, and I sort of wanted to replicate something like that in The Sims as well because I just felt like it looked really interesting. So you guys would see like as the video progresses how many intricate and interesting shapes I do actually use throughout the entire build, which I feel like is really new to me as well because I'm really used to like creating these like boxy houses and stuff. So yeah, it was quite interesting for me as well to like play around with like these more curved walls and stuff. But yeah, for right now you guys are seeing the footage of me creating the exterior. However, for some reason, when I was creating the original exterior, I lost about 3 or 4 hours of exterior footage, which I have absolutely no clue as to how I was able to manage that, because I don't usually like touch the footage that I record until when it comes to actually like putting it all together, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know how I was able to like, I don't know how I got rid of all of that, but unfortunately I somehow like lost it along the way. So I just went back after I finished the entire build and sort of like created a fake exterior start, if that makes sense. So that's pretty much what you guys are seeing right now. So yeah, obviously it doesn't look exactly the same as the final build. However, it kind of just like gives you an idea of what the design process was when I was creating this build, if that makes sense. And I still like try to make it as similar as possible. You guys will be able to see the complexity that the original exterior had while I was building it originally. And yeah, I also didn't skip like the front part of the home either. I wanted to make that look as interesting as possible as well, of course. So there's also a lot of interesting and intricate designs on the front of the home as well as on the back of the home, just so like it matches, because I feel like when you're usually going off of references and stuff, it's really easy to just think about the exterior of the home or like one side of the home and just completely forget the other side, where it's really important to consider every single part of the home, because you need to think about like if it's actually doable, if that makes sense. So I feel like I wouldn't have been able to finish a build like this if I didn't know what I wanted to do for the front of the home, if that makes sense. But I kind of just like did the same thing as I did for the back of the home, but just like changed it up a bit and made it look a bit more normal, or something that you would expect from the front of the home, if that makes sense. And I really wanted to create like some nice like edges around like the actual like ceiling of each part of this like build, just to make like the floors look a bit more thicker and stuff. And I did that by using these the floor like edge pieces that are like below the roof bit of the actual like build mode, and I really love the way it looks, to be honest. I just feel like it makes it look a lot more realistic, because you do have that sort of like small detail in like realistic homes as well. So yeah, I wanted to incorporate that as I was building this exterior as well. And I went with a very simple wallpaper for this entire build. I just went with like a nice plain white color throughout, and I also incorporated some nice wood timber tiling throughout the entire build as well, which you guys would see, especially on the curved parts of the build. I wish we were able to create more like different designs or incorporate more wallpapers on the curved sections, rather than only being able to like add one, because I feel like it does quite limit us, especially like if you want to like cover one small little place. The entire curved wall has to be colored a specific way, which is kind of annoying, but I mean like there's not really much you could really do about it. And also, if you guys can see, there is like this floating piece above the swimming pool with like this curved area, and that is actually a huge balcony area. It's all open space, so it's not considered a single room or anything. It's completely open. And I also faked one side of the curved wall by using these vertical line objects that came with either eco lifestyle or city living, and I just really love the way they look, to be honest, especially in like these modern homes. And we also went with a very nice plain and simple white flooring. I actually went with the Spa tiles for the flooring for the exterior as well as the interior, for mainly like the bathrooms and stuff. But the main interior flooring is all like these like nice bright orangey sort of timber floorings that we have from Eco Lifestyle, which is honestly my favorite and I always utilize it. And now we're actually going on to the real footage. So this is where we actually skip to the part where it wasn't actually missed out. So this is like the actual exterior that I was working with for the real recording. And as you guys can see, like I already went around and added a lot of detailing around the entire build, such as like the greenery, as well as like using some the pristine pedestals, the white pedestals that came from Get Famous, just to create like a nice like shape around the actual like bedding of the greenery in the water, if that makes sense. And I also incorporated so much greenery on top of the roof of this entire build, as well as like on the sides. I just feel like it looks really interesting, and yeah, I just feel like it made it look a lot more like lively, to be honest. And as you guys can see, like from some parts of the balcony or like the curved walls, you guys can see some like random floor pieces that sort of like glitch, and I don't know why it does that, but with curved walls there are so many issues with curved walls in this game. So yeah, you guys just have to like bear with those sort of like bugs and stuff if you guys are planning to play in this build. And also another issue that I found was, if you clutter a lot of the curved walled like interior rooms, if you go out and you try to take a nice exterior image, you have an issue where it doesn't render the items inside of the curved part of the actual house, which is very annoying. And I feel like that issue has been around for so long now, and it's quite a shame that they haven't been able to fix that, to be honest. Like, we already have so many issues with the curved walls. I feel like at least we should be able to see the furniture that we place inside of them, you know. But yeah, moving on to the interior, as you guys can see, we have these very nice plain white walls that really do contrast well with like all of the furniture that I placed in this entire build, as well as like the frames for like the windows, as well as like the nice timber flooring that we have going on throughout the entire build. And I wanted to go with this very nice like full-on black kitchen because I was just thinking of one of my previous homes that I built, this really huge mega mansion, and it had the island living counters in it. And I remember really liking these counters a lot, mainly because of that waterfall edge. I just feel like it looks really realistic, and I just really like the way the design is on these counters. I feel like maybe the drawers aren't 100% like as to my taste, but I feel like it's just overall is just like one of my favorite counters in the entire game. I still really do wish it did come with these like upper cabinet, the wall cabinetries, rather than having to use the Dream Home Decorator ones. So yeah, unfortunately you do need both of those packs if you are planning to play in this build and want both of like the full functionality of the kitchen, if that makes sense. And we also have like a little side area where the coffee machine is, but unfortunately I don't really show that because I was kind of just like trying to save as much time for you guys by skipping all of like the unnecessary parts and rather just like explaining it in the voiceover. But yeah, we have a very huge and generous living space, and I just really like the way it looks. It's very open and clear, and as you guys can see, we have those like curved walls on either side, which I feel like look really nice, and it really does work pretty well, to be honest, in this living area. I just feel like everything in this house is extremely cohesive, and there will also be a very nice like video tour, which is basically towards the end of the video, and you guys will be able to go around and see all of the entire like furniture and stuff like that I placed, and even be able to like see some of the rooms that I haven't been able to include in the recording. I don't want to waste you guys' time by including every single bedroom, if that makes sense, because it was just like there's so many bedrooms in this build. I believe there's about like 7 or 8 of them, I believe, and most of them also have like their own en-suites and stuff, and it was just like a little bit repetitive. So I just showed you guys like the most interesting ones, or the builds that, or the rooms that were the most interesting. So such as like the gym, as well as like the art room. We also have like a gaming room. So these are all different separate rooms individually designed for those specific activities, and they're all actually based on different levels of the entire home. So every single floor of this build is actually functional and also like makes sense. So there's sort of like a reason to go up there or like downstairs just to like do something, you know, rather than having just like so many bedrooms everywhere. It's better to have like some sort of like activities and stuff in each of the levels of the house, just to make it feel like a bit more interesting, rather than always playing on the first floor, which has all of the main functionalities. But yeah, this is one of the first bedrooms that I believe were decorated, and this is on the first floor. It is off to the side of the house, which is like sort of like on its own curve, and I really like the way it looks because it just sort of like looks out into the ocean. You can see like the designed greenery on the like left hand side of the build, as well as like the swimming pool on the right hand side. And yeah, I just really like the way it looks. And also another issue that I had with those windows were you can't change the color of them, or it just makes the interior look really dark. And I don't know why, but I feel like it's probably because those windows aren't mainly designed for curved walls. However, since it works, I feel like it doesn't really make a lot of sense for it to be dark, you know, like there shouldn't be any reason as to why it's making all of the furniture inside of the room dark. So yeah, I did have to use quite a few like source lights here and there, and I do obviously change 90% of the light that I place throughout the entire build with different like lights, just to like make it match with the rest of the theme of the build. So yeah, you guys won't be seeing a lot of source lights in this house, even though you guys do see it in the speed build. I do obviously go around and change them up eventually. But yeah, before I even started decorating the interior, I put a bunch of source lights throughout like the entire house, especially like around like the windows, because it was just super dark and I just had no idea why, especially in such like a tropical world like this. But yeah, we sort of like worked around it, and yeah, I didn't really have any issues with that in the end. But yeah, I'm just showing a few of the bathrooms as well as like the bedrooms that I had built in this build, and it worked really well. I kind of like went with like my own design that I have going on throughout like my previous build, so just sticking with like these very nice like neutral tones, as well as like the black and white theme that I really love. And you guys can also get a little bit of a sneak peek of what that sort of like open sort of balcony area, that closed off balcony area sort of looks like. So sun lounges, as well as like some other like seating area there. And we're also moving on to the other bedroom, which is on the second floor off to the left side of the home. And we kept it relatively simple, mainly because like, as you guys can see, there's not a lot of space to work with anyway, but I just felt like just keeping it with the necessities, and that would be like more than enough in my opinion. I feel like you guys can also use this as a residential rental or some sort of like resort or like a hotel, because I just feel like there's a lot of space in this entire build. And you guys would see as we progress with the rest of the build as well, there is so much like, it's not really called this, but some sort of like lobby space where there's a huge area in like the center of the home where it's just like, just for like general seating or like just entertaining guests. There's nothing really special to do with it. It's sort of just like the main area of the home. And yeah, we sort of have like 3 areas like that in the entire build, which you guys would see later on in the video. But yeah, I'm just going with these like simple colors and design choices for each of the bedrooms, because I already had so many bedrooms to decorate in this entire build, so I didn't want to clutter them up too much to the point where the entire game was just like unplayable. I wanted to keep it a bit realistic as well. You wouldn't really have a lot of clutter and stuff like that in a house like this, in my opinion, because there's just like not a lot of space for it. But yeah, I just went with these very nice counters for the bathrooms, and I didn't really go with my usual style of using the wall cabinetries that came from Dream Home Decorator, the kitchen ones, mainly because I wanted to slot a few objects on it here and there, and I wanted to create a more modern look without having to use that, because I have been using that sort of like design quite often. If you guys have watched previous builds of mine, you guys would know that I use that. Yeah, I just wanted to switch it up for this build because I did quite a lot of stuff differently in this build, mainly to what I usually do. So yeah, I'm really proud of like how it actually turned out. And yeah, as you guys just saw a few moments ago, we were actually doing the like central, like sort of general seating area for the second floor, and we were also moving on to the gaming room. And I wanted to have this like different opposite colors for each of the desks, just to make it look a bit more interesting. And we're also utilizing the high school years expansion pack when it comes to decorating these desks. So I'm using desks as well as like the office chairs that came from that pack, as well as like the computers, because I just feel like it looks really nice, and obviously it's the most appropriate ones for a gaming room. This room was relatively small, so you couldn't really add too much into it, but I just sort of like added like 2 bookshelves and a few lighting fixtures here and there, just to make it look a bit more interesting and make it stand out a little bit more, rather than like keeping it blank and empty. And we also have a lot of these bedrooms which have a lot of curved walls incorporated into them. So yeah, I feel like these bedrooms turned out to be really interesting overall, especially like the ones that have the curves in them, because like it just gives like a different view for the entire bedroom, in my opinion. Like, it just looks a bit more interesting. And this room in particular, I believe, is on the 3rd floor, this bedroom, and it has its own like closet, so like a walk-in wardrobe sort of situation, but it also has its own ensuite as well on the other side, which I feel like is one of the more exotic and interesting looking rooms, mainly because it has the walk-in wardrobe. And I feel like I really like the way I designed this walk-in wardrobe, mainly because it just looks out into the ocean, and we also have like the front sort of like balcony area there as well, which I feel like looks really interesting. Just added like a bunch of flowers and a bit of decor here and there, just to like make it look a bit more interesting than it really is, especially because there's a window there and I want it to look as interesting as possible. And obviously I changed the colors and stuff here and there just to make it match a bit more. And I tried to avoid using TVs, but I did utilize quite a lot of TVs here and there for the bedrooms, just to like add some sort of entertainment. And I also included a bunch of desks in every single one of the bedrooms, just to like make it make sense, and I didn't want your Sims to be using a different like bedroom for their desk, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just wanted everyone to have like their own one, but I do believe there's like a few that don't have their own desks and stuff like that, so I guess they can use like the gaming room computers, which I feel like isn't really that big of a deal, to be honest. Went around and like cluttered it up and made it look a bit more interesting than it really was, rather than leaving it blank on a white wall. So yeah, I just went around and like added different colors and stuff, a bunch of flowers. I did incorporate a lot of greenery into this build, mainly because I just like the way it looks and it contrasts really well with the rest of the colors that I have used throughout the entire build. And I feel like this bathroom also turned out to be really interesting. I don't really show the speed build of it, but I just feel like it was quite interesting, mainly because it was off to like on a curve rather than it being like on a general rectangle that we are usually used to building on. Right now we're actually decorating the 3rd floor sort of like main entrance once you go up the stairs, and I wanted to incorporate a bar in this build. I wanted it to be outside actually, but unfortunately there wasn't any space on the balcony or even on like the bottom floor, and I didn't really want to adjust a lot of the exterior that I had already built, so instead I just kept it as it was and sort of just like added it on the 3rd floor, because we just had like a bunch of space on the 3rd floor, especially because this was sort of like the final floor, and there was already too many bedrooms and a lot of like specific designated rooms, and I didn't want to create even more rooms that would make the actual like 3rd floor even smaller. So instead I just opted for like a big like lounge area, and I also included the bar that came from the Lovestruck expansion pack because I just really like the way it looks, and especially with like that curved design that it has, we don't really have something like that, so I wanted to incorporate it. And yeah, I just feel like it turned out really well. And we also utilized the snake skin wallpaper design throughout the entire build as well, mainly because I just really like the way it looks, and it just works really well to create like these accent walls that I was kind of like going for. And yeah, that seems to be pretty much it for this entire speed build. Let me know what you guys think by leaving a like and subscribing, and I'd also love to know your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I also have a bunch more other videos on the channel that I feel like you guys would definitely like, and make sure to stay towards the end of the video so that you guys can also watch the tour of this entire speed build. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.